Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are out there.
Yep.
Welcome to another edition of Train Talk from Milepost 141. This is the SoundTraxx Sound Bits podcast.
Sound bites.
Sound bites. Yeah, I don't know why I keep messing that up. I know we did one.
I know what your next line is going to be after I try and tell you why. It's because you get hit in the head a lot.
No, actually this time I was going to do a little different. I was going to veer differently.
Oh?
Because being here, I actually turned 16 years here at SoundTraxx at the end of October.
Yeah.
And we did do a Sound Bits email newsletter or a blog, and then we had Sound Bites. So we've used those terms in multiple things. And so without the sign in front of me, I tend to get it mixed up.
But it's right there.
Well, I wasn't going to tell them that. Come on.
No excuse. No excuse.
I can't read. Reading's hard. For those of you Tommy Boy fans out there, left to right, top to bottom, group words together to form sentences. Aspirin for any headaches, Midol for any cramps.
Of course, that first statement depends on what language you're reading. Apparently, Japanese is actually right to left.
Yeah, I know, but we're talking English.
True.
This is America. So.
Well, who knows where our viewers are tuning in from?
That is true. I did say wherever in the world you are.
Yep.
Right.
So there we go. Well, first thing I want to do is I want to introduce our special guest. Now, on Zoom, via the miracle of the internet, we have our friend Reggie Thomas.
Yep.
Now, Reggie is an avid SoundTraxx user, and we've met Reggie at several shows. And I tell you what, I like this guy. He's a character, and he's a heck of a modeler. So, Reggie, why don't you say hello and introduce yourself?
Hello and welcome to my neighborhood. Would you be mine? Could you be mine?
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to spend this whole time making references to movies and TV shows.
You're going to get none of mine. It's all obscure science fiction.
Nerd.
Well,
Takes one to know one. That's like the pot calling the kettle black.
Exactly. So anyway, this week we thought we'd bring in Reggie because there's a little bit of some slackery going on our part.
Yes.
I've got a couple of models that are not quite finished yet that I'm working on. And the other one was when I scheduled this broadcast, I forgot to bring a model that I had completed that I wanted to show off. I forgot to bring it with me, so I'm going to take the slacker button.
Do we want to spoil what that is for them for next time?
No, make them tune in next time.
Well, I mean, we could just tell them what it is, whet their appetite for next week.
It's a building. It's not actually a locomotive.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that.
This should be interesting.
So, but anyway, because of that, we figured we'd bring in one of our latest acquisitions, and I don't want to use because we didn't actually get this.
Yeah, this isn't ours.
This is a locomotive that's owned by a friend of mine locally. His name's Jerry Day. You guys may have remembered him from authoring some of the books out there on the Rio Grande historical data and information, such as the K36.
Yeah, I think his most recent one is the K28.
The K28.
Which I actually have a copy of.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great book. He certainly does his research, and it's interesting reading some of that because nobody really can argue with the information in the book. There's no falsehoods that anybody's been able to come up with, so that's a good thing. But anyway, point being was he picked up this model and he bought it with sound for some reason. He took it and ran it for a minute and said, "Oh dear God, that's got to change."
Yeah.
So we have it here. We're going to go ahead and do an installation video, which may be on our YouTube already.
Yep.
Our YouTube channel for you guys to take a look at. But we're basically going to show you what it takes to convert this thing, upgrade it. There were some electronics issues, which...
Yes, and that's actually I'm the one who asked for this initially because I've been getting emails all week concerning the lighting on this thing, and I figured, okay, I'm getting enough emails, let's get one so I can take a look at it and figure out exactly what's going on. And I've taken a look at it and I figured out exactly what's going on, and I'm not sure I like it.
Well, it's them, again, trying to be proprietary because they tend to share it as a standard or claim it's a standard, but it's not a standard.
It's not.
They've got some weird electronical things going on in here. And again, it's another attempt to make it proprietary so that they force feed their decoder down your throats, whether you like it or not.
So in this specific case, what they actually did is you need to turn on FX5 for any of the other lights to work, including headlight. Once you do that, headlight and backup light work normally, and then the number boards are on FX3, but you have to turn on FX5 for anything to work. There's nothing actually tied to it.
Now that's after plugging our decoder into
Yes.
it also. So we plugged
Wow. Who did that?
well, we're not going to call names.
Okay, no names.
If you do the research,
Wow, I
you
can
find out
just see
who their
that one.
factory installed sound system is.
It's
But we popped the shell off. We plugged in our TSU Next 18 for GE. So I've got it currently set up as the dual Cummins for the 44 tonner. One thing you may notice is it seems like it's a little quiet. And of course, we are talking over it. But there's just a little tiny small speaker located on the side underneath the seats on one. I don't remember which side, if it's left or right, but there's just a little small speaker mounted vertically, and the body shell comes over it, and then it dips into the shell, or into the frame itself, and then there's some holes on the bottom for the sound escape. So it's a really small speaker, and so I turned the volumes down a little bit because at full volume it was clipping.
Yeah.
And it's causing some minor distortion. I don't know what the speaker is they used in it, but it's definitely a fairly weak speaker, so to speak. And so you want to turn the volumes down so that you don't damage the speaker or the amplifier. So, but that's what we brought today, just to kind of show off. And if you haven't already seen it on the YouTube channel, be sure to go check it out on our YouTube channel, so that way you can get the information. You'll see exactly what it takes to do the installation and all the little nuanced things that we found inside the model as another attempt for them to make their stuff proprietary under the guise of a standard. And then what they do, this is what drives me nuts, is what they do is then they tell their customers, well, I guess the other brands just aren't technologically advanced. And it's like, well, if you guys would follow the standards, everybody's would work. But
yeah, it's just a lighting output. There's nothing complicated there.
Exactly. So
That's what I had to figure. I figured that out on my own based on things I did as a kid, taking apart RC cars, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You just have to kind of test as you go.
Yep. So, and that's one of the fun challenges of our hobby. And I say fun, but it is a challenge sometimes.
Especially when it's all undocumented. So
Yeah.
until you get it in hand and you can actually start experimenting, you have no idea what they did. That's why I asked for
Exactly.
this. I was getting those emails and I had no clue.
Yeah. It is a gorgeous model. They
Yeah.
did a great job with it, but yeah, you put some proprietary stuff in there and yeah.
Hides functionality.
Yeah. So anyway, enough about that. Let's
not be Debbie Downers
let's
here.
go ahead and have fun with Reggie, because we usually only get to see him at shows.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
so
remember I met him at the
Texas,
yeah.
you met him in Texas, and honestly, that was
Yeah,
where
it was
I met.
115 degrees that day. 115.
Yeah, I was glad I could stay in the hall and not go outside. Let's put it that way.
I remember the first time I met Reggie face to face was at the Red River RPM.
Red River, yeah. There's a lot of people saying, there he is. I was like, who are you talking to? And I said, who, me? Yeah, you do all the strange stuff with the SoundTraxx. You need to go talk to George. It's like, oh, okay, George?
Right.
So I sheepishly walked up there like, hey, it's me. And then you showed me your models. I became inspired again. I had to look to see what you were doing. And I said, I can do that.
Yeah, and that's exactly part of the reason I do a lot of this. I mean, I do it for me for fun.
Yeah.
But I take models that I don't necessarily model on a regular basis and do work to it, to exactly that, and inspire, other modelers and other folks and to really enjoy it. And I think it's really pushed the hobby forward.
Yeah.
Because when I started doing this and a lot of people started seeing it, they started pushing against the manufacturers, and now the manufacturers are adding a lot more lights to their models as well now too.
I have noticed that. I really have. I do a lot of when I do a rollout of one of your SoundTraxx, I put music videos to it because when I was a kid, the thing that would inspire me were the Tyco commercials. And since then, you don't see model railroad commercials like that. So every time I roll out a SoundTraxx, I'll put out on the social media where I can use the music. I'll use that to music, and people go, wow. And I'll put lights to it, and then they become inspired. And now everybody's doing it. I've even noticed a few of the manufacturers starting to put more lighting on their step lights, truck lights, and even the class lights.
Yep. And that's a great thing for our hobby in general. So we're certainly happy to see that. So, well, Reggie, why don't you go ahead and share us a little bit about your history? When did you get interested in model railroading, and what brought you to where you're at today?
Well, let's see, 47. No, I was kidding. I got started in a hobby. I was really, I came from a small town, Cleveland, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
That's not where I'm from, but my parents are from there. And there seemed to be like a railroad track crossing at like every block. It's surrounded by trains. And as kids, our cousins and I used to go walk around and we'd see the trains, and there was always a train blocking us. And I became interested as a young kid. I have a grandfather who worked with the tank UTLX factory down there. He used to clean out the inside of those tanks. So I became interested. My first train set was, I had one and one forever. Kept asking my dad, I want train set. He said, let's wait till you're a little older. I got to be 8. We're walking in Kmart one day, and I just said, I just give it a shot. I said, hey, Dad, there's a train set right there I would like to have. He said, better put it in the basket before I change my mind. The races, we're off to the races. A year after that, I had my first 4x8 layout with, of course, Tyco back then, because the Tyco commercials inspired me.
Yeah.
I had 4 trains running. By age 13 or 14, I was fully engulfed in trains. Now, what's interesting is I'm an artist by nature, so I do a lot of drawing. But I had it up in my parents' attic, and there was only a few kids I went to school with knew that I was a model railroader. So as I'm putting these things out on social media, they're seeing that and they're saying, what? How come you never told us? I don't know. I mean, I had books of railroad model craftsman was my social media back then. And it was inside of my binder. And I remember them falling out off my desk one time at one of my classes. I'm picking them up, and someone saw them and go, what is this? Like, oh, it's model railroad. So, and I've been going ever since. This is my second layout. So I took some of my models from I was a kid, and they were boxed up. We moved them from house to house. Literally 40 years later, not to give away my age, but I just started messing around with them and messing around with my son. Next thing I knew, I built this table. Then I expanded. We built it in the back of a home theater room, which is why people ask, why is the lighting so great when you're on your pictures? Because it's literally in a home theater room in the back where the pool table should be. My daughter calls it the elephant in the room, but she's moved out, so I get more room.
There you go.
Yeah.
That works out.
Yeah. And so it's like there's on this particular layout, there's 30. My son and I designed this one. The water was his idea. So we designed it together. But the only thing I have to do next is come up with some good control panel and a signal panel, because he says it's frustrating for him to operate trains not knowing which way its tracks are going. So
Gotcha.
we've had some close calls. But yeah, other than that, it's a really fun layout. Like right here, this is my sunset. Everyone sees I kit bashed this. If you look in there, I don't know if you can see, there is actually a SoundTraxx diagram on the wall.
Oh, wow.
On the wall. I can't zoom in close enough with some locomotives.
Okay.
And when I pull locomotives in here, it's my way of saying these locomotives are going to be switched to SoundTraxx.
Got it.
This is my latest one, which I'm really proud of, was the Genset 2. Mm-hmm. I'll be honest with you. When the Genset first came out, I thought it was the ugliest thing. I really did. But now I finally got a hold of one that a guy was selling for like $45.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, really? So that's how I buy my trains. I buy my trains really cheap, because I'm what I call a poor man's model railroader. I can't afford a lot of the $400, $300 ones. This steamer here is an MRC, I think it was MRC, the old MRCs, MCRs. Either way, I got it at a train show for $45. It now has a TH, one of your TH models, SoundTraxx.
Okay.
So it's pretty cool. That one is the one you saw going through this railroad crossing.
Yep.
This one is another Bachmann steamer that I also has a SoundTraxx in it. Bought that one for $6. You buy something new like that, you're looking at like quite a bit of money.
Right.
Like there's about 30 locomotives on here. These two are my Blue Namis. So what's cool is this one is a blue box. Okay. This one was a blue box I converted. There have been some talk out there. You can't do that. Well, I found a way. You know, I do a lot of what people say you can't do.
Gotcha.
I find a way, and it works great. This one is a Kato, and I put in all of the little lights, the truck lights, the step lights, everything in there.
Nice.
The rotating beacon, I do that myself. So I kit bash a lot of mine. Mm-hmm. My railroad is called the History of BNSF Railway. Okay, so I have all of the paint schemes leading up to before and pre-merger, with the exception of a few childhood favorites. Like this is my Kansas City Southern. I mean, that's what I love. That's one of the, I think that one's a E8, E7. And then I have some others over here, which is way over there. It's the Rock Island and Conrail. I keep them on that side of the tracks. I mean, but those are childhood favorites.
Gotcha.
I light everything up, and what I really like about Blue Nami is it's really made my life easier as far as programming. And as I get more Blue Namis, I am converting them. My next conversion is going to be this Triclops right here.
Okay.
I'm convert that Triclops to a Blue Nami. I'm just keeping it on the tracks because it looks good. But what I really like is so like this one, I finally got the consisting working great on this iPad here. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I tell you, one of the things I always enjoy looking at your videos. I know you post both on the Facebook and the and YouTube there, but you've got some amazing lighting out there. You've got a lot of, you know, and your nighttime scenes are amazing. And then the way you added all the lights to those older models makes them look fantastic. I mean, they're just as good as any modern model you get today, if not better.
Thank you.
So
I just love the sound of the dynamic drive. This one is the best one. I finally got the settings right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
I mean, you can hear it purr. Now, the only thing is since we're in this room is actually in what's called a balcony. So we don't have a divider to the living room. And the family can hear the whole thing.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, why don't you turn around. So this, like I said, this is our movie room. And so I have lights up there that help set the setting. That's our TV. And then right over that stair banister, right over there, that's the living room, right on the other side, downstairs.
Gotcha.
So I have to get eventually get something to kind of corner that off. But I mean, I still have fun. My family lets me do it. My wife's very supportive. This water idea, again, like I said, that was my son's idea. I put that in during the pandemic, I think.
Okay.
And I'll show you what's really cool. So I got this idea from you, George. I saw your video of where you add you can build a full foam modular extension. So what I did was, so this is actually sitting on a shelf, and I didn't buy a whole bunch of 2x4s.
Okay.
I took one of these. All right. Let's see me show you this.
I see what it is.
Oh, just one of those little brackets. Yeah.
It is very sturdy, and if you're not putting 2x4 in, you could. But I have under this, it's just this, and this actually just will lift right up because the main layout is over there. And watch this, and it lifts up, and I can take it or extend it out. And so when you were showing me in your garage how you do that, and I connect just 2 bus wires like this.
Yeah.
So there's just 2 bus wires connecting it to the rest of the site. This literally lifts up and out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's how I'm going to do that when I expand over here.
Okay.
Look at all this expansion.
Oh man, look at that! You got a nice long
that's a lot of
space.
room.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's bridge. I custom built that myself. Put BNSF on there. So what I do for the railroad is I'm a website designer. I help design their current website. And the most recently was the Rail Talk. There's a site on it called Rail Talk, which, by the way, if you type in Reggie Thomas in the search, you'll see me come up because they did a feature article on what I've done with the history of BNSF Railway. This is what we call a blue Smurf. Very rare. That's also a SoundTraxx. But the one I'm most proud of, I have 4 Blue Namis on here, and the rest are SoundTraxx. And I'm really proud of this gen set. This one's really awesome.
I remember seeing the pictures as you were putting that together. That thing looks amazing.
Oh, yeah. What I do is when I take pictures, people wonder, well, how do you set up like a big camera? And I don't. I literally just, I'll take the phone, something cheap like this, and let's show you. You might be able to see it. I mean, it's like this. You can see that.
Yep.
Look at that.
Honestly.
So now I take a picture, and that's my shot.
Yeah.
That's my shot. And someone says, you don't use like big time? No, I'm a poor man's model railroader, and that's all I do. I don't do any photoshopping, adding. It's just, it just works out. That background is great. And what I do is I will change the color of this light. Okay. Sometimes you don't see that Star Trek in there. I'm a Star Wars guy. And that light helps set the tone for the entire layout from this direction.
Okay.
Okay. So it kind of acts like a moonlight.
Yes, a moonlight. There's some Easter eggs in here.
I see that one.
Here's another one. I put Easter eggs in mine. This one looks familiar.
Yep. I get that one.
And then there's this one.
Yep.
And then this one is a Greyhound. These are my roads. Now, this road is modeled after a road that would lead into Cleveland, Texas.
Okay.
What I used to make that, I just used door spackling. And then I use FX, called FX concrete, and I painted it over it. And then I went in it back and painted these little squares in it. I just based it. Well, that's interesting. There's the Superman Lex Luthor missile.
Oh, yeah.
So I put all this stuff in there. Makes it model railroading fun.
Yeah.
And then there's my custom. I customized that for a guy. This is actually a Bachman railroad crossing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I kind of kid bashed it.
Nice.
So, and then here's a little waterfall drainage for the water I have over here.
Okay.
Okay. So it looks like this. All right.
Yeah.
So all that is hot glue. Hot glue. I glued I put a piece of tape and I did a hot glue gun, and that makes the water. And then I went over with some effects. And so now we have the drainage going out to the mountain.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And this is from my childhood. It's that Plasticville coaling station that everybody sees from. I don't know who owns that now.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen that in years.
I had this on my childhood layout, and one day I said, you know what? I'm going to kit bash this. So I got it out of the box, and I decorated it a little bit. And a lot of times what I do is I'll take a picture, I'll just literally set like a boomstick, and you'll see how I get some of my pictures.
Yeah.
And I'll just run my trains that way. But other than that, the Blue Nami is great. I can run multiple trains as I'm doing here.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, your layout's based on like 2 loops, isn't it? So you got an inner and an outer?
Yep. I have an inner and an outer. And I can run 2 trains, actually 3 trains at a time, because all I do is I take the Blue Nami and I literally just go from here to here. So here's the Santa Fe one. Turn off the mute. And here it'll come. So that one was also an Atlas. That was actually an Atlas. I rebuilt that one too. So I rebuilt all of my locomotives. I put the LEDs on them. They look like $300, $400 locomotives, but they're not. I buy them cheap.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you did a great job with it. It's always impressed me what you've been able to do with some of those, some of those models because, one of the things about our hobby is you notice that it seems like less and less people are actually doing the work. They tend to more buy it off the shelf, put on the track and run it. And you're in there opening them up, doing all the modifications, adding details and adding lights. And I tell you what, you've done a phenomenal job out there. And I always look forward to seeing your next post.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have 2 social media sites and I have a YouTube one. I have one that's on TikTok. I don't know how long they're going to keep that one, but I have one. It's called REGGFX on TikTok and also on Twitter. I've got about 600 followings on Twitter. And TikTok, like almost 1,900, almost 2,000.
Oh, wow.
And then I have a following on YouTube, which is Extreme FX 2010. So. Okay.
And that's EXTREME or just with the X? I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's EXTREMEFX 2010.
Okay.
On YouTube.
So guys, if you want to see some great video from this beautiful layout, I mean, he's really kind of showcased what you can do in a small space. I mean, that layout doesn't feel like as small as it is when you see pictures.
Especially because of exactly
where
the camera angles are.
It's one of those, it's a layout that's like, I got 1,000 pictures in it, but we have all this room to expand now that I have the entire balcony to myself.
There you go.
We haven't talked to the missus about that, but she says just leave her a place to sit.
Well, you filed your permit with the state and the county to try to expand the railroad.
Yeah.
She said just leave me a place to sit.
That's awesome. And I love the fact that she supports your hobby because that's one of the most underrated parts of this is a lot of guys. I know I have friends of mine who whenever we go hang out and do stuff, their wife never shows up. And it's almost like she's like, yeah, go do whatever, get it out of the system and just leave us alone and just come back when you need to. And I always feel bad for that. But because a few years ago, my wife and I went and chased the big boy coming back into Denver. And she was out there just as excited as I was to chase the thing. And it was awesome to have that support. And a friend of mine he'll go out on these train trips and he doesn't bring his wife. And I'm like, it's always one of those things that it's underrated when you get that support. Yeah.
So and actually getting them into the hobby as well is a big thing. Our CEO is actually one of the is pretty integral to the Women in Model Railroad SIG.
Yeah, one of the original founders.
Yeah.
And so be sure to get that. So note to yourself as you're looking for your nice little squeeze, when you're looking
We're
around,
going back to that, are we? The fact that I'm still single. Is that all you're going to be harping on?
This is the first time in all these podcasts I brought it up.
I can tell you a little thing here. This my wife and I joke about this. So when I started dating her, we won't say how far back, but it was in the 90s. Okay. Mm-hmm. I took her upstairs to my parents' attic to show her the layout I had then. I said, this is what I do as a hobby. She goes, nice. I said, pass.
Yeah. What's funny is my wife and I were very similar because I've had a couple of dates before where they were like, you do what now? And when I met my wife, I was kind of like, okay, I'm going to make her like me first before I tell her the bad things. And anyway, I finally told her about the model train layout in the garage, and she was like, "Oh, what scale?" And I was like, "What do you mean, what scale?" "Well, my dad does this." I was like, "Okay." So she's been groomed her entire life to marry me because her father was a model railroader, and he was in military. So every time they moved, she always had to pack up the buildings and move, and then he would build a new layout. So she was used to always having a layout.
Suddenly it makes sense why she puts up with you.
Yeah, that's 20 years. You believe it or not?
Sometimes my family, I'll be involved in something else, and they'll literally say, "Do you have some trains to go run or something like that?" Kind of chill. Oh yeah, helps me with my stress. I mean, like I showed you, I don't know if you saw. Yeah, Coco. She's my train buddy some days, and she'll sit over here with me, or sometimes I'll just lay over on the sofa. "Hey, Coco, say hi. Come on, girl. See there? Say hi.
Daddy, I just want to sit.
I just want to leave me alone.
And I guarantee you, this is the first podcast that's going to go viral because we all know pets and the internet are a match made in heaven.
She's not missing. That's all we'll say.
There you go.
But yeah, she's my train buddy. My son, he's my train buddy too. But I have, like I said, I've got about 30 trains on here, and he says we need some signaling. So that's on my to-do. Get some decent signaling. He doesn't like switches being left open.
That'd be a good thing. Good addition. Well, at least it keeps you busy.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. So there was one time I couldn't get off from under threw my back out under the table. I said, "Hey, somebody come get me!" But we're good now.
That's awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate you spending the time with us and coming out here. I think a lot of people would love to see some more of your pictures. So guys out there, be sure to go out and check out Reggie's channels, Extreme FX 2010 on YouTube. And then it was Reg FX on TikTok.
And believe it or not, this was given to me, not the @ but that acronym was given to me in high school.
Oh, wow.
And so it stuck with me because of the stuff I used to do in art. So
gotcha.
There you go.
I thought it was fitting because of all the lights and everything you're doing out there.
Yeah, it blends. I convert my art into my models because I wanted trains so bad. I can't afford them. And people say, well, it all adds up the same. Actually, it does not if you customize it like this. When I bust that thing open, I gut the whole thing. That's just how I do. You don't have to do that. But I mean, like I said, when I get stumped, I email you guys, and y'all help me, or I'll watch one of your videos, especially the part on wire management. That's the biggest one I recommend for wire management. Because I have people tell me, I can't close the shelf. I said, that's going to be the hardest part. But you can do it.
I mean, that's honestly the single biggest thing I actually learned from starting in N scale was wire management. Because if you can't manage your wires, you ain't getting it in.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I guess that's everything we got prepared for you this time. I know, Reggie, you've been a great advocate of the Blue Nami, and we're thrilled to see it. And
I'm always intrigued whenever I see one of your emails pop into my inbox.
Like, what does he want?
So one last closing thought from you. If anybody was on the fence about Blue Nami, what would give you the thing that they should pay attention to push them over the edge?
Push them over the edge? It's not going to ruin what you already have in place. You don't have to change everything. I've got 4 Blue Namis on here, and I play with and they play well with my locomotives. It's not going to hurt anything. It is just an added feature. I can still use my Wi-Fi from my other locomotives with they play well together. The trains play well together. When I saw you at that show and you showed me your Blue Nami, I was like, no. So I went and bought one. I bought one that was on the board. And I'm like, wow. I got it home. I said, I got to get me a few more of these. And as I'm converting more, I'm going to convert. In fact, a competitor who was working with me at the time, I got their motors in a drawer somewhere just collecting. I don't even go to those anymore. This is what I do.
It's easy, it's fun, and it takes away the guesswork, and you don't need to do everything overnight.
Yep.
So, awesome. Well, hey, Reggie, thanks for your time. We greatly appreciate that. And for those of you guys out there listening, hopefully this was entertaining for you as well. And, so stay tuned. Be sure to check out the next edition where we'll actually bring some of our personal models next time.
Hopefully. Assuming one of us doesn't hit the slacker button again.
Well, it'll be a couple weeks for me because I'm about to leave on vacation. So we're recording.
Fun, man.
You're ditching me.
The goal is one day y'all look up and then you'll see one of my commercials on a real broadcast. I'm working on that. I'd like to see commercials.
Okay.
I'd like to see those Tyco-like commercials, not Tyco, but we need more train commercials to disturb in the kids.
Okay. That's awesome. I know we've got a couple of ideas in the mix that we're experimenting with green screens. So this should be fun. So,
Yeah.
Of course, we're making poor old Mackenzie hate us for that.
Yeah.
she actually enjoys doing it, I think.
Yeah.
It's because it's fun. It's different. It's certainly
It is
a
fun,
challenge.
man.
So, but we're working on some commercials. So, but if you're willing to put something together, we'll be happy to share it as well.
I'm a little out there, but yes.
All right.
Well, that's one of the things we love about you, my friend.
Yeah, I'm doing. They call me the mad scientist for a reason.
There you go. I
Yeah.
love it. Well, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up this edition of Sound Bites. I checked the
You
sign.
got it right
time.
this time.
I checked the sign this time.
It's right there. Use it.
So anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys, and then we'll look forward to seeing you on our next episode. So from that, we'll say
Bye.
take care, everyone.